again and welcome to another episode of the Red Bull Matchbox Race 2020. You're in for another qualification video today, this time from Group 2 vehicles 16 to 30. Here's a look at the event course, a ridgeline road track full of twists and turns. A racer's time will begin when their vehicle passes the start line here, and the clock stops when their vehicle emerges from the tunnel in the final straight. Here's our lineup of 15 drivers that will be taking on the course today. Each of them will get 6 attempts to make it down the course once, and up to 12 attempts to make it down a second time. Without further ado, here's our first driver. Our first driver today is Claudia Rossi in a Porsche 911 Turbo. They made it down in run number 1. This looks smooth but slow. They'll want to do better than that for run number 2. Consecutive runs is always a good sign. This does look a little bit quicker than the first go-around. And they made it off the track. 4:52, so they break 5 seconds, but do not impress. Our second driver is Burin Cole, driving a long bus. They were unable to make it down the course. The vehicle is just too long to make it around those corners. Ends up upside down. And our first DNF of the night. Our next driver is known to most of you, the Incredible Hulk, driving the Hulkmobile. As it turns out, he was unable to control his temper and did not make it down the course. In this 6th run, you'll see the Hulkmobile flip completely over and continue going. So you've got to at least admire his moxie. Our second DNF. The third hockey-branded Hummer to take on our course is driven by Misty Skater Goodman. Misty got nowhere near completing the course. Our third DNF of the night, and our third in a row. Our fourth DNF of the night comes from Hisham Serrano in the Smart Catrio. Run number 1, however, proved quite exciting, as the vehicle struck our cave cam. The vehicle was very quick, but simply too short, I think, to have control on the wide straights of the course. Our next driver is Abby the Duff Duffy, taking time away from their rock band to take on our rocky course. I apologize for that. They made it down in run number 1. In the slowest ever completion of the course. However, they made it down in 2 consecutive runs. And this one looks a lot faster. And was in fact almost a full second faster than the first. Our next driver is Marlene Warner in a Cadillac LMP. This vehicle obviously suited for flatland racing. Let's see how it does in run number 4. Doesn't look too bad at all. Gets a little bit squirrely in the final tunnel. Marlene was incapable of finishing the course a second time, so we're taking a look at their failure to get down in run number 12. A 5:04 will have to satisfy Marlene. Our next driver is Keelan Lynn, driving a flamboyant-looking Ferrari F40. Keelan made it down in run number 2. Let's take a look. Looks a bit slow through the first corner and over the cliff drop, but does make it all the way down, just about. Yes, indeed, they made it past the line. It took them until run 7 to make it down a second time. This run looks cleaner than the first, and they make it all the way through the tunnel. 4:37 is a decent time indeed. Keelan will be happy with that. Our next driver is Ricky Whelan, driving a Dodge Viper GT SR. Ricky made it down in their first run. Makes it down relatively fast and relatively smoothly. That looked pretty good. Let's take a look at their 7th run. Bouncy in the opening straight, and a little bit slower coming into the second corner. I think their first run will be faster, and indeed was faster. A 4:46. Our next driver is Safwan Harvey, driving in the Dark Shadow. This vehicle apparently is showing its age, and they were unable to finish the course. Squirrely over the cliff drop, and runs into the wall before the final straight. Once again squirrely, and once again grinds to a halt out of the second corner. Our next driver is Rima Dotson, driving a Porsche 911 Carrera S. This is possibly the only real toy manufactured vehicle in the competition. They made it down in run number 2. They made it down quickly in run number 2. Went into the wall before the final tunnel, but I think that looked quick. This consecutive run is looking very good as well, but a drift into the final tunnel will damage their time. A 4:25 in their first run will definitely put them in the top 10. Our next driver is Rianne Reeder, driving a Corvette C6. Yet another Corvette. They made it down in run number 2. This is looking quite quick as well. A bit slow coming out of the second corner, but fast in the final straight. And they made it down in a consecutive run. Once again looking quite fast, but slow into the second corner, and that'll damage their time. But a 4:40 is nothing to sneer at. Our next driver is Ronald McDonald in a power circuit. Sponsored, obviously, by McDonald's. They made it down in run number 1. Does a bit of a wiggle through the cliff drop, which slows them down for the rest of the course. Let's take a look at their run number 3. See if they can keep it straight through the cliff. And they do. But they still look relatively slow and ponderous through the rest of the course. And they do not break 5 seconds. Our next driver is Lily Dennis in the Peugeot 405 T16, manufactured by Majorette. They made it down in run number 2. This is the first of 2 rally vehicles from Majorette running our course today. The next one will be our last car of the night. And Lily makes it down in decent time in their first run. Let's take a look at run number 3. Fast down the opening straight, slower through the corner, but fast through the second corner and straight down the final run, bringing them to an average result under 5 seconds. Our next driver is Kristen Curtis in a Ford Escort. This one has been around the rally circuit for sure. They made it down, however, in run number 1. They made it down quite slowly in run number 1, but ably all the same. And consecutive runs. This run looks a little bit faster than the first, but I don't think that it'll bring them into the top 10. Indeed, their first run of 4:55 will have to satisfy Kristen. And from our drivers today, only Rima Dotson in a Porsche 911 has made it into the top 10, with a very respectable 425. Will Clark Cannon in the DeLorean DMC remain untouched until the competition? You'll have to stick around to find out. The following qualification videos will have a slightly different format, as we have 80 more vehicles to go, and I don't really have it in me to edit another 8 qualification videos. But there's lots in store for you, so consider subscribing and pressing the bell so that you don't miss the next episode of the Red Bull Matchbox Race 2020.